Alright, so hey y'all, back at you another video. As promised, bit of a change in locale. I'm currently on my back deck at my house. My neighbors probably think I'm crazy, just standing out here talking to my camera. So today's 26th, day after Christmas. Hope y'all had a good Christmas. Mine's pretty good. So if you don't celebrate Christmas, like, hey, that's cool too. But if you do, Christ is King. Anyhow, as promised, here's a video on my CCP kit. So, for those of you who don't know, CCP is a casualty collection point. Now, I did not come up with this system. I did something different from what I was taught in AIT and then by my first senior medic. However, when I first got to a line company, this is actually what my platoon sergeant showed me. He had a really cool setup. He had all of this in like a GP pouch on his belt, and then the rest of his belt was just like two or three IFACs. And basically, if we took casualties or I had to establish a CCP, he would just take off his fucking belt, toss it to me, and I would go to work. And it made it cool too because I didn't have to dig in my aid bag for simple like IFAC type items. My aid bag was then just entirely reserved for for my more like advanced interventions and assessment equipment. So that was really cool. Me and that platoon sergeant had a fantastic fucking working relationship. That guy, like, he made my job fucking easy, and he's also the one who came up with the system. Basically, it's pretty straightforward. You know, you have your 4 triage categories: immediate, delayed, minimal, and expectant. Now, for those of you that don't know, basically, I mean, triage is essentially figuring out who you're going to treat first, right? And that's not necessarily dependent on who has the worst injuries, but who has the worst injuries you can do something about. So your immediates, this would be guys, at least for my line of work, as far as having a higher level of care that I can evac to. And I'm speaking strictly from a military sense. I haven't worked civilian EMS. You know, I'm sure their protocols is different, especially depending on whatever department you work for. However, so your immediate casualties, you know, that's going to be stuff like you have amputations, you've got guys going into some kind of shock, basically just really like severe wounds. Maybe a guy's a gunshot wound to the chest and he's going into like, you know, severe respiratory distress. He's possibly having like a pneumothorax. Then you've got your delayed, which those are guys who are they're probably not in a fight anymore, but they're also, you know, they can hang on a bit. If you've given them their basic treatments, their basic interventions, they're probably going to be good for a minute. Generally, these guys, they could be a mix of ambulatories or litters. One good example is a guy who has a gunshot wound to the chest, but he's not having a pneumothorax. He's not having progressive respiratory distress. He's just kind of hanging out, obviously in a lot of pain, probably not in shape to fight, but, you know, you're not going to fucking lose him if you don't intervene with him for more than a minute. Then your last is your minimal, not last, but the last category of people that you're actually going to really treat is your minimals. Honestly, you probably really won't actually see a whole lot of minimals. That's going to be things like, you know, a dude maybe like burnt his hand a little bit, or actually no, hand injuries are kind of serious, but I mean, I've burnt my hand in the field and kind of fucking ignored it, but I don't know, say like you roll your ankle, you sprain something, maybe like minor lacerations, kind of shit like that. That's gonna be your minimals. Honestly, a lot of times too, your minimals, if you're in a kind of combat situation, you're just gonna tell them to suck it the fuck up and pull security. Realistically, there's one medic for the platoon and then a handful of CLS. They're really gonna be dealing a lot with these guys. If there's a minimal, just tell them to suck it the fuck up. The last deal of your expectants. Those are guys who are either dead or very soon will be. Kind of unfortunate, kind of shitty. You got to think that way, especially, you know, if you are in a military context or a group of civilians, you know, doing whatever they do, and you know those guys are your buddies. However, yeah, it's just a reality situation. Some guys aren't going to make it, and you know, expectant, that can be guys who are just outright dead. You know, that could be dudes who are very close to that. Some common examples of that would be maybe like some exposed gray matter. Now, I know that somebody's going to go into comments and tell me, oh, but I saw this one thing where this guy got shot in the head and he survived. Yeah, that's fantastic. Modern medicine is amazing. However, realistically, in the kind of scenarios that we're working with as a single medic, whether in an infantry platoon or, you know, if shit hits the fan and you're with your group of dudes, a guy who's exposed to gray matter is probably not going to fucking make it. Or another common one, maybe you have an exposed, like, open pelvic injury where there's just, you know, he's hemorrhaging all over the place. You know, that guy's probably not going to fucking make it. Or another case could be if you have a dude with like 100%, you know, burns all over his body, like full thickness burns. A lot of cases, especially if it's any kind of prolonged field care and you're just one guy, he's probably not going to make it. So these three are casualties that you're really going to treat. These guys, if they're dead, kind of leave them be. Or what you can do is push pain meds. And I know most of you probably do not have access to ketamine. I don't even have access to ketamine unless like overseas. But you could either just try and give them whatever pain meds you have, try and ease their suffering as they go away. Or if you have some kind of chaplain or any kind of religious leader, he's really good for putting them there, especially under mass cal. You know, he can try and just like at least kind of ease people into going into the hereafter. Now, as you can see, these cards are all laminated. This isn't actually my original kit. My original kit was like a print up that my platoon sergeant did, but these ones I found a North American Rescue CLS bag, and they had these on there, so I cut them out and laminated them. These barcodes, they don't mean anything to me. I'm sure that there's some system for them, but yeah, that's just an artifact of it being from a North American Rescue kit. And as you can see, all of these chem lights are color coded. I know these two kind of look the fucking same, but this one's a green, this one's a yellow. And then for the expectants, I just rock an IR because, you know, black chem lights aren't a fucking thing. So that means that basically these can be used day and night. If it's daytime, what I would do is I would just go into a room. Usually that would be like the first room that we take in any kind of like building or complex, and that's where we're gonna establish your CCP. And this shit's super fucking easy. You know, you throw them all out into the corners of the room. The expectant, I either just wouldn't throw it out at all, or like I would hold on to it, or just move them into an adjacent room or a or a fucking like outside. Because one thing, you don't want to put the rest of these casualties with the expectants, because they can really fuck with somebody's will to live. You know, if you have a guy who's an immediate who has a chance of making it, but then he sees his best buddy missing his fucking head, you know, he could downward spiral pretty fucking quick, and that has like a real effect on people. So you want to keep your expectants separate. Now, there's also a method to how you want to throw these out in a room. Don't just, you know, willy-nilly throw them out into a corner. So, for example, say you come into a square room, and you've got your exit over here. I don't know if that camera can see it, but you've got your exit over here, and then over here is the rest of the building. Well, what you probably want to do is you probably want to have your immediates set up by that exit, so that way, when Casevac, Medevac comes, those dudes are right fucking there. You can brief it to the whatever medic's picking it up, and you can get them out quickly. And then maybe have your delayed somewhere in the middle, and then your minimal guys, if you have any, have them closer to the fight. They can pull fucking security, because those guys are probably fucking fine, realistically. So this is a really fucking simple setup. And then, you know, nighttime, crack the fucking chem lights. For my platoon, it made it super easy to fucking work in a CCP, because first of all, I taught my guys what a CCP is, how I like to set them up, and whatnot. But there's really no confusion, because, you know, we'd be doing a live fire. Guys would come in with a casualty and a letter, and they'd say like, "Oh fuck, Doc, where do you want him?" You know, they'd tell me he's got fucking right leg amputation, and I would just say, "Yeah, red card, go." It's really fucking simple. Instead of seeing, you know, trying to explain like, "Oh, I want him in that corner." No, actually, the other corner. Just I point to a red fucking card. They're gonna figure that out real quick. Super simple, and like I said, this takes 2 seconds to establish the CCP, because, you know, you just fucking yeet these sons of bitches out into a corner really fucking quick. It's awesome. If any of you guys like this system, like, feel free to copy it. I think it's a great system. I'm really glad my platoon sergeant showed it to me. It's just, in my opinion, it's super quick and easy. You can keep these in a cargo pocket and a GP pocket. They come together pretty small. It just makes it where you can get to casualty treatment a lot faster, because you're not worried. Because I've seen some guys, what they do is they take a chem light and they wrap it around in tape, and they have the evac category written on it, and they sit there and they try and unroll the fucking tape and then like tape it to a wall. that takes a lot of fucking time that you really don't have. So this is cool because I don't have to find a fucking wall to tape it to. I'm not sitting there unraveling it. Just throw it out wherever the fuck I want. And then, you know, it doesn't have to be a room either. I've set up CCPs in a fucking tree line, you know. And in that case, it's just kind of like, I know it sounds like a cop-out, but it's just met TC, you know, like fucking figure out where your evac's coming from, figure out where the fight is, and then adjust accordingly. Now, as far as marking the CCP, this is a pretty standard thing across the Army as far as I've seen, where you've got like 2 methods of marking. Now, your daytime, just a simple fucking VS-17 panel. My unit ordered a bunch of these like medic-specific ones that are pretty cool. They've got fucking, as you can see, a big fucking cross, little glint tape, bright orange. Super cool. I love the thing. It folds up real small in my pocket. And it's got multi-cam on the back, so that's neat, I guess. But yeah, this would be your daytime method of marking. Because, I mean, you pull this out, it's going to shine, it's going to be bright. Nobody's missing that, you know. And the big cross on it tells you, hey, this is medics. Now, if you don't get one of these, you know, you can also just take a regular VS-17 and fucking put duct tape on it in the shape of a cross or spray paint, whatever the fuck you want. Just something that marks like, hey, this is medics, you know. And then your nighttime method of marking, also really simple, just an IR buzzsaw. You can use like other chem lights if you want, but I mean, if you're using night vision, you might as well use an IR chem. And this is nothing more than just some 550 tied off to a chem light that you fucking whip around real quick. It makes a big ass like halo. Can't miss it. And if you want to, you can always use these in conjunction at night, because like I said, this is like reflective glint tape, so if somebody shines like an IR fucking strobe at it, it's gonna reflect off, they're gonna see it. But you know, you're marking it, it's pretty fucking simple, you know. There's really not much to go over on there. But yeah, if you guys have any questions on this CCP kit, please feel free to ask. If you want to know more about CCPs, about how to actually triage casualties, you know, I'd be more than willing to make a video about that. But yeah, I hope if you were using a worse method, I can't fucking talk, or if you didn't have a method at all and you're just kind of fucking winging it, you know, maybe you feel like this, go ahead and give it a shot. It'd be really cool. Yeah, that's all I got for now.